If you've been watching this channel, you may have picked up on my love for old Victorian houses. Yes, we're in the market for a new home, so we've been touring some stately old houses hoping to find our dream home. For whatever reason, I seem to be drawn to houses with history significant enough to warrant articles and essays. The Button House is no exception.
Okay. Gotcha.
Now, before I get too far into this video, I want to point out that this was a strange tour for a few different reasons. One, we had a substitute realtor there. The real estate agent that was supposed to be there had left town, and they had sent someone else who wasn't the greatest agent, let's say, and decided he was going to talk a lot and give a guided tour, and he talked through the entirety of the tour. For that reason and others, I have most of the audio from the tour muted. He was making up a lot of information as we went along, and clearly not much of it was accurate, but I'll unmute the important parts. I'm also blurring out some faces for privacy's sake. Since there is information available about this house online, I'll include that link down below and you can check that out for yourself. Much of what I'm about to read has been found in an article on the internet about the home. This is a story about a home, yes, but also about a woman and her immediate family who occupied this home between 1865 and 1973. Editha Lois Button lived in this house, save for a few gaps between her birth in 1895 until her death in 1973. The Button family bought the home in 1865 or 66 after a period of frequent turnover in tenants. Built by a Mr. Charles Hill sometime between 1840 and 1850, it began as a 2-story, 9-room home, later expanding to 3 stories and 12 rooms. There was mention of a jinx associated with the property because of the misfortune that fell on the original owners. Hill lost the home to foreclosure, at which point the next 5 subsequent owners would experience similar problems, including multiple deaths in the home as well as an arrest. It was at this point that the Button family bought the property, and at least according to the article, the quote-unquote jinx had ended for a while at least. Mr. Button made many changes to the house, building an addition that enlarged the home to 12 rooms, installing lead plumbing, and introducing improvements designed to protect the family from fire, including a water tank in the attic. There was also a windowless room, the Thunder Room, as it was called, where family members could retreat during storms and be protected from lightning. Button also added the most distinctive feature of the home, of the exterior of the house. The 5 Egyptian-style columns on the front porch were reportedly hand-carved in Italy at a cost of $2,000. As a child, Editha developed such affection for animals that she became a vegetarian. "I could never eat my playmates," she said. She and her mother became fervent anti-vivisectionists and started an organization called the Humanitarian League Society to promote that cause. When Editha was 16, she eloped with 21-year-old Ferdinand Joseph Reynolds. That marriage was annulled by the Button family, but they were married again in 1951. It was incorporated at the Button House address, where meetings took place for more than 40 years. There is evidence that the couple lived together under the Button roof. On March 30th, 1973, Editha Lois Button died of chronic lung disease. Her death occurred in the same bedroom where she had been born more than 78 years earlier. In her final years, she could not conceive that anyone could possibly appreciate the house as much as the Buttons. In her will, she declared that the house was to be demolished after her death. Obviously, it wasn't. Even as a nephew began getting quotes from contractors to tear down the house, the Landmark Society of Western New York stepped in with an application to declare the house a landmark, and that stopped any attempt at demolition. A few days later, a fire mysteriously broke out in the bedroom where Editha had died. Helen Newberg, who lived in the Button house in the early 1980s, said the floor was charred around the spot where the bed once stood. The essay goes on to say, "I have not been able to confirm if such marks are, in fact, there." Well, guess what? I found the marks clear as day. While I didn't record our conversations after the tour, I'd remarked later that, upon entering that room, I had goosebumps on my arms and legs and a strong feeling of anxious energy. That feeling subsided as I continued the tour, but came right back the moment I entered the room again. I should note we encountered signs of what I believed was a banishing or protecting spell in the room across the hall. Witches, please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe the current caretaker is aware of a presence in the house? Regardless of what we may or may not have experienced on this tour, it's unlikely we're going to buy it. The due date for offers to the bank has already come and gone, and there's just too much that needs to happen before we're ready to make an offer. I'm still thankful that we got the opportunity to tour this gorgeous and historic home, and I hope whomever ends up buying it will respect the building and any former inhabitants that still remain. One final note. As of this recording, the house has been listed online for sale for 242 days. The price has dropped several times, and as far as I know, there have been several offers written on the house that have fallen through. Over the years, it's been an Airbnb, and the third floor was also, last time I checked, still listed, though unavailable. I think for a while, that's all this house was capable of being, is a short-term rental. For no long-term tenants, no families would reside in this house and feel comfortable staying here full-time. Maybe it is the ghost of Editha. Maybe it's something more sinister that's keeping potential buyers and families away. Is this house cursed? Some might say it's easy to tell. I'm not entirely sure. There's something beautiful and magical about this property, and deep down, I was drawn into it. But I wouldn't feel comfortable living here. Not for long.